Okay, Rule 8, action to avoid collision. Any action taken to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part. That means rules 4 through 19, as the inland side says. And shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, and with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. So positive. I think we should define that as helpful. It's not necessarily, a positive attitude. It's all going to be fine. No, it's a helpful action that you are doing something constructive to help solve the problem, to help avoid collision. Made in ample time. Don't procrastinate. Good Lord. If there's a collision that you're trying to determine, if risk of collision exists, and maybe it does now exist, and you need to take action in ample time. Do not wait till the last minute. If you're the giveaway vessel, don't make the stand-on vessel nervous. And when you take action, have a regard for the observance of good seamanship. That means don't be a jerk. Don't cut out ahead of someone. Don't make someone else nervous. Be a cautious and defensive driver. Many of us have a driver's license, right? You can drive a car, and if you're driving for your driving test and you get to the stop sign at the same time as the other person, maybe on your own you'd be like, gun it, I'm going to get there. But always having consideration for the other person. Remember, you're flying under the United States of America flag. You need to represent us well. Part Bravo. Any alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar. The phrase we use here is change the light. If you can see a Christmas tree ahead of you, meaning you can see both the port and starboard running light and the mast headlights of a power-driven vessel, and you determine yourself to be in a head-on situation, change the light. Don't make these incremental course changes. Come starboard, make it large enough to be readily apparent. Come 30 degrees to starboard and show them a port running light so that they know that you intend to pass port to port. It says immediately following, a succession of small alterations of course and or speed should be avoided. That will make it difficult for someone observing only by radar to determine what course and speed you're actually doing. Also, it won't be the most helpful or positive action if you're coming 1 degree. Let's come another 2 degrees. All right, let's come another 5 degrees over. If you're nickel and diming it, you're doing it wrong. Make a large course change. Make a large speed change so that someone observing on a different ship can tell. And who's observing? The lookout, right? The lookout needs to be able to determine if the target angle has changed, or if someone down in combat is watching your speed vector on radar, they need to be able to see a change. Slowing from 16 to 14 isn't really going to do much, but if you slow from 16 to 5, maybe someone might have a chance on radar to be able to detect that. Part Charlie says if there's sufficient sea room, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close quarter situation, provided, here's the caveat, that it is made in good time, is substantial, and does not result in another's close quarter situation. So we have words like large enough, substantial, positive. All of these are helpful actions, right? Made in good time, made in ample time. The rule is hitting on key things that can help or hinder your decision making. And being able to make a sound decision effectively will allow you to take action successfully. Another reason that they bring up course alone is because this book is written for every mariner out there. And most mariners who are sailing from point A to point B with a cargo load, they intend to maintain their speed because it's the most efficient speed that they can cross the Atlantic. They may lock their engine rooms at night. Okay, so this is for the merchants out there that an alteration of course alone may be the most effective. But it applies to you as well. So before you decide to slow to 5, think about how you could change the geometry of the problem. Moving on to delta. Action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. Okay, that's saying that it's only successful if you do not collide. Pass at a safe distance. The effectiveness of the action that you have taken shall be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. So don't just alter course to starboard and call it good. You need to maintain a lookout on this other vessel and carefully check that the CPA is maintained at what you originally planned it to be. Echo is very important. If necessary to avoid collision or to allow more time to assess the situation, because here again, it's saying that they know that you're human, that it takes time to determine what the heck is happening out there. So you can and shall slacken your speed or take all the way off by stopping or reversing her means of propulsion. This could be a drastic maneuver that we talked about, with a merchant vessel who has their engines locked, the engine rooms are locked. Stopping or reversing your means of propulsion may be a drastic maneuver. But if that's what you need to do for more time, or if necessary to avoid collision, you got to do it. Now, Foxtrot, I find to be a little bit tricky, written out as such. So I want you to imagine a car going down a city street and a person who would like to cross this street. So let's call the person a jaywalker. They should not impede the passage of the car, correct? So here we go. So I'm this jaywalker and I want to cross the street. There's a car traveling down. So number 1 applies to me. A vessel which by any of these rules is required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel. So I cannot impede the passage of this car because I'm jaywalking. When required by the circumstances of the case, I need to take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of the other vessel. Okay, so before risk of collision even exists, I need to take early action to allow that car to pass safely. So now we're into part 2. I decided to jaywalk, and now risk of collision exists. So me being the vessel required not to impede the passage of another vessel, I'm not relieved of this obligation if approaching another vessel and now risk of collision exists. So I can't call out, hey, now that we're about to collide, I'm a pedestrian. You need to go around me. I shouldn't have jaywalked in the first place. I should have allowed sufficient sea room in the first place. And I shall, when taking action, have full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of this part. So now if we have to avoid collision, I need to abide by the earlier portion of this rule. And then finally, number 3 says a vessel, the passage of which is not to be impeded, meaning the car. So even though the jaywalker is not supposed to impede the passage, the car remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part when the 2 vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision. Okay, so this is saying like, all right, I'm a jerk of a jaywalker, sure, but just because you're a car and now that risk of collision exists, and even though I wasn't supposed to jaywalk, you still need to abide by the rules and you still can't hit me. This is introduced here in Rule 8 because the vessels not to impede the passage or safe passage of other vessels come into play often in Rules 9 and 10, which are narrow channels and TSSs.